China's 7th census data, released in May and despite being retouched, still reveals a serious problem of aging populations in China's urban areas. The data shows that as of 2020, 149 out of 336 cities in mainland China have entered into deep aging, i.e., the percentage of people aged 65 and above has exceeded 14%. In terms of regional distribution, these 149 deeply aging cities are concentrated in urban clusters in China's northeast, central, lower Yangtze River, middle and lower Yellow River, and southwest. Sichuan Province in the southwest has 17 such cities, which is the province with the most aging cities. Official figures also show that in 2019, China had about 254 million people over the age of 60, including about 190 million people aged 65. By 2030, China's population over the age of 60 will reach about 25%. Around 2050, the number of seniors in China will reach a peak of 487 million, accounting for 34.9% of the total population, meaning that 1 in 3 people will be seniors in 30 years. An aging population is a global problem. What's special about China's aging problem? Unlike many countries that have established a relatively well-developed retirement system, the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, has never seriously addressed the issue of aging in China during its 70 years in power. The Communist Party did not have any pension system between 1949 and 1979. After the reform and opening up in 1979, it gradually tried to establish a pension system. However, more and more Chinese people suspect that the government's pensions are in great deficit. Many people born in the 1980s are worried that they will have no money to collect after retirement. China's pension system has many nuances. Let's focus on the most common type of employee pension insurance. To simplify, this insurance is divided into 2 parts. The employee contributes 8% of his or her monthly salary into an individual account. The employer contributes 20% of the salary from the enterprise or related organization, and this money goes into a general account, which is called the basic pension. After retirement, Chinese workers will withdraw their pensions from both accounts. The more years of contribution, the higher the percentage of withdrawal from the basic pension. If the pension amount in the individual account is exhausted, the National Treasury will replenish the individual account. The pension funds collected from individuals and enterprises are managed by national, provincial, and municipal governments, with the basic pension insurance operated and managed by the National Social Security Fund. The Chinese Academy of Social Sciences published a report in 2019 titled The Pension Fund Actuarial Report 2019 to 2050. According to the report, in 2019, there were 16 provinces in which pension income was not enough to cover expenditures. In addition, although pensions in 5 provinces were above the warning line, their payments could last less than 3 months. The number of provinces above the warning line will increase every year in the next decade. Starting in 2020, many cities in China have raised their pension payment rates, claiming to the public, pay more, get more. But the Chinese are worried that they won't get the money out if they put it in. In 2006, a significant case of embezzlement of Social Security funds occurred in China. More than 30 officials and businessmen, including Shanghai's party secretary, the #1 official at the time, and the head of the Shanghai Social Security Bureau, were investigated and punished. China's former director of the National Bureau of Statistics was also investigated by the Central Commission for Discipline and Inspection for serious alleged abuses of Social Security funds in Shanghai. The case included the unauthorized use of 3.45 billion RMB, or 534 million US dollars, in pension insurance funds. According to sources from the Welfare Insurance Division of the Shanghai Social Security Bureau, by the end of 2005, Shanghai's basic pension insurance funds were over 11 billion RMB, accounting for 1.6% of the national annuity total. In other words, one-third of it was misused. And this is only the official data released by China. The actual figure is unknown. WikiLeaks has published a confidential telegram sent by the U.S. Consulate General in Shanghai to Washington, D.C. on December 14, 2006. The secret transmission revealed that relatives of several former senior Communist Party leaders were involved in the Shanghai Social Security scandal, including Jiang Zemin's two sons. In 2007, The Voice of America published an article titled, "China's Social Security Fund Becomes an ATM for Corrupt Officials." The article quoted the Auditor General of China's National Audit Office as saying, "Misappropriation of Social Security funds by local government officials is widespread in China, and the loss of funds is serious." According to the article, the Ministry of Finance of China found that before the case in Shanghai, serious problems concerning the Social Security funds had been identified in 10 provinces inside the institutions entrusted with the basic pension funds. The Social Security funds have become a small treasury that some local governments have misappropriated at will. In 2016, China's news website, Sina.com, published a report, 80 billion RMB pension funds diverted to unknown destinations. Where is the safety? The article lists a series of alarming figures. In 2003, the amount of pensions misappropriated was 8.4 billion RMB. By 2007, it exceeded 10 billion. After 2010, it increased by 10 billion, 20 billion every year, and in 2015, it was more than 80 billion. In June 2017, the Hong Kong Commercial Daily reprinted an article, "China Pension Fund to Participate in One Belt One Road Feast," which said that the Social Security Fund would provide financial support for the One Belt One Road initiative. The article quoted the then vice chairman of the China Social Security Fund Board saying, "We will invest along the route. We are determined to go beyond our borders, but I cannot disclose the details of the investment projects and amounts." However, various parties have suspected that since China's Belt and Road has triggered debt crises in many countries, these unpayable debts could lead to a financial crisis in China. In April 2018, Bloomberg published an investigative article, "How China is Buying Its Way into Europe." According to the article, China has invested a total of more than USD 318 billion in Europe in the last decade. The transparency of China's foreign investments has been widely questioned. It has also been noted that since 2008, many of the companies investing in Europe have been opaque in their sources of funding. With huge volumes of opaque overseas investments on the one hand and massive amounts of Social Security funds that's whereabouts are unknown on the other, one has to wonder how much of these investments might be the pension money paid in by the Chinese people. In 2008, the Hong Kong's Momentum magazine revealed that the annual public spending of retired senior officials who were members of the Communist Party's Central Committee and above amounted to 100 billion RMB. The annual public spending of just 11 retired senior officials, including former Communist Party leader Jiang Zemin and former Premier Li Peng, amounted to 1 billion RMB, or an average of nearly 100 million RMB each. A more detailed set of figures revealed in 2014 by the same magazine shows that in 2012, 610,000 retired senior party, government, and military officials spent more than 725 billion RMB on their salaries, benefits, and entitlements, equivalent to 1.3% of GDP and 6.2% of fiscal revenue in the same year. This information was reported to the State Council at an executive session in December 2013.
看看这天坛医院，这比美国还厉害。坐医院从这个挂号到另外一个部门得坐摆渡车， 我们跟观光游览似的。哎呦，太好玩了！这咱们得热爱生活啊！你不许在家，孩子，真好哎！我们太受感动了啊！美国没证，美国没证好。
The older woman in the video is retired in the US. She returns to China for medical care and praises China as better than the US. However, if she were asked to cut off her US green card, she would not be willing to do so. China's leaders and rich folks sure need such a grand hospital to care for their expensive bodies.
不是，我这劝我爸呢，我这坚决要吃药，不吃药哪行啊？
A professor of the School of Economics at Guizhou University has criticized in an article that the CCP uses tax money and state revenues to support all the party officials and some non-party organization workers, totaling about 20 million people per year, at a cost to society valued at 20 trillion RMB or 300 million US dollars. If the situation does not change, society will eventually collapse. Because of this article, this professor was dismissed from the university in 2017. Now, how big is the gap in China's pensions? No one knows. China's state news agency reports that China will have an 8 to 10 trillion RMB or 155 billion US dollars pension shortfall in the next 5 to 10 years. However, many scholars in and outside China believe that the shortfall has already exceeded this size today. China has been implementing a one-child policy for many years. It was not until 2015 that it began the policy of 2 children per couple. The one-child policy has created many 4-2-1 families with 4 grandparents, 2 parents, and 1 child. During the implementation of the one-child policy, the Chinese government proclaimed, "It is good to have 1 child. The government will take care of you in your old age." After the second-child policy started, this slogan changed to, "Children will take care of the elderly." In August 2021, the Chinese government started to allow and encourage Chinese families to have 3 children. In the meantime, it has introduced a new slogan, "It's better to postpone retirement and take care of your own retirement." Along with this slogan, in March 2021, the Chinese government announced to its citizens that delaying the statutory retirement age is one of the government's goals for the next 5 years. That is, the statutory retirement age, which was originally set at 60, will be postponed to 65. The delayed retirement will result in an additional 500 RMB or 77 USD a month in pension per person. By implementing the delayed retirement policy, the Chinese government will be able to postpone the pension that should have been paid out for at least 5 years. It also reduces the total amount of pensions that these seniors would have received. Let's do a simple calculation. The average pension for workers in 2020, as claimed by the Chinese government, is about US 450 or RMB 2,900 per month. So, the current retiree will receive 81,000 USD in 15 years after a 5-year delay. That is, in 10 years, he or she will receive 63,240 USD. It is a drop of 17,760 USD. The larger one's monthly pension amount, the larger the shrinkage. In addition, some provincial governments in China have issued documents to encourage seniors to start their own businesses. These various initiatives and statements from the government have made more and more Chinese realize that the government's promises made decades ago are no longer being kept, and that they may not have access to the pension funds they have been paying in. With the population crisis and the deterioration of China's overall economic environment, the aging population is left with fewer options. Older couples are afraid of not having enough money to age at home and being isolated when they get sick. Those who are better off want to go to a nursing home but are afraid of being abused because China's nursing homes are very rudimentary. Living with children is also less likely because many Chinese of the sandwich generation are often too busy to take care of themselves and do not have the extra housing space, time, and energy to care for the elderly. The CCP media now criticizes that it is socially irresponsible for people not to take care of their elderly parents. However, everyone understands that the ultimate reason for this lack of family care has to do with the lack of money. In the bottom of China, old people who have worked hard all their lives, their plight is not caused by their own next generation. The sluggish Chinese government has finally realized that the aging of its population is a weighty burden for the future development of the Chinese economy as a whole. However, according to the inertia of the Chinese communist system, there was no way to solve this huge problem now.